Hey, it's Mark Ferguson with Investor More, and you are looking at my Cleveland property right now, which has had an incredible amount of drama and frustrations and just overall wishing I hadn't boughtedness. So, this is a property I bought as a turnkey rental property in 2015 from somebody who I thought was a friend who was pointing me in the right direction and really should have never bought this property, but I did, and I'm dealing with that now. I paid $45,000 for it. It's maybe worth $80,000 now, depending on who you ask. But we've had a tenant in there who hasn't paid rent in 2 to 3 years. They owe us like $16,000, and Cleveland is just an absolutely interesting place to buy rental properties right now. And something else I found out, thanks to a commenter on one of my last videos, is this was part of a very historic event in Cleveland, not a good historic event, and I'll show you some of that here as well. And that was just very interesting to find that out and learn about this event, because I didn't even know it had happened before. I'm sure people in Cleveland would have known about it, but kind of has to do with this area right here and right here and along this whole street and area and all kinds of stuff. So I have lots and lots of videos of my commercial properties, businesses. I own a liquor store, mini mart, just bought a laundromat, have lots of stuff going on. We do flips, rentals. And so I try to talk about everything that's going on, good and bad. And this is one of those situations that has just not been good. We rented this property to a tenant many, many years ago. I've never been to Cleveland. I've never seen this house. I bought it with my IRA, which plays into part of the problems with this property. And they were doing Cleveland Housing Authority contributions. They're getting money from the Cleveland Housing Authority to live in the property. And the real big problems kind of started when COVID hit. And then I had a really horrible property management company along with that. So it's just been absolutely crazy. Monument Property Management, I would never, ever, ever recommend them to anybody, or Monument Real Estate. Crazy what they did. I learned some more stuff recently about what's going on. So what happened was, apparently in 2020, right before COVID and the end of 2019, my house did not pass multiple inspections from the Cleveland Housing Authority for conditions to meet the housing voucher program and to get assistance. My property management company never told me. I had approved some repairs in 2020, I think for some electrical work and something else. I don't know if that was for these inspection issues or something completely different. I looked through all my emails. They never told me my house didn't pass these inspections. The Cleveland Housing Authority canceled the contract because it failed 3 inspections, was never told about any of that, had no idea it didn't meet the Housing Authority guidelines. And on top of this, at that same time, there was some accounting issues where a lot of money was missing from my account. And suddenly it magically showed up in my property management account when I threatened to take them to the real estate commission. But it was just craziness going on. I cover a lot of that in some of my other videos. But I just learned this new stuff about the housing vouchers recently. Well, then COVID hit, and then that kind of changed everything, because now they were allowing people to stay rent-free, and Cleveland was paying for people to live in rentals. So then I don't know if my house was approved again or repassed the inspection, because, again, I was given almost no information. But like in June of 2020, I sent an email saying the tenant qualified for or got her housing voucher. I never knew she didn't have it. I thought it was just a yearly thing. So we did get some money there. But then that money ran out. They stopped doing that, and the tenant never paid rent since then. And so we've tried to do an eviction. The old property management company had all kinds of issues with that, because they said I didn't do my lead-based paint inspection. For like 7 months, they're telling me to do a lead-based paint inspection or approve them to do it. The house was built in 2005. There's no need for a lead-based paint inspection. It's only for houses before 1978. And I told this to my property management company about 5 or 6 different times before they finally realized it themselves. Then they came up with some other excuses of why we can't evict, just over and over again. Then it turns out they said, oh, well, our lawyer says you can't evict because your corporation is not registered in Ohio, and Cleveland requires every company that wants to do an eviction to be registered in Ohio. I'm like, I don't have a corporation. It's owned by my IRA, my investment account. And they're like, well, sir, you have to register it. So I was going back and forth with lawyers and different people for months and months and months trying to figure this out. And eventually, thanks to my YouTube channel, I got in touch with Homex Property Management, which has been fantastic. So if I can't give them enough credit here for helping me out in this situation and getting to a point where I think we have some light at the end of the tunnel, and I might be able to get the tenant out. and they do property management and sales. So if you're looking for a good company in Cleveland, HomeX Real Estate is absolutely fantastic. And let me make sure, hold on a second here. It is HomeX Property Management. I just want to make sure they got their name correct though. But someone had mentioned, I talked to them on one of my videos. I got in touch with them. They've had their eviction team helping me out, and they've been talking to the Secretary of State to try and figure it out. And basically with their help, I was able to figure out I could register my IRA with the state of Ohio, and I got that done. It took me a very, very long time and many, many calls and emails with the state of Ohio to get that done, but we got that done. We were able to go to court, and we have some news from court. So we'll talk about that here in just a second. But then I want to talk about this too. The Glenville Shootout that happened in 1968 in Cleveland. And someone said, hey, you know your house is right where that was at, right? And I'm like, I never heard of the Glenville Shootout, sorry. So I was doing some research and looking around. And if you can see this Wikipedia, this is the picture from Wikipedia of the Glenville Shootout of where it happened. What do you think that is right over here? That, let's go over here. Let's get a good view. We'll look back here. That's my house. So that's Google Maps. This is Wikipedia. There you go. So the Glenville Shootout was started right here in this area. It was quite the crazy, I think 7 people were killed, and it caused the Glenville riots where 62 buildings were destroyed. This whole area was just devastated by this kind of a racial unrest between the police and all kinds of craziness going on. So I won't read all of this, but basically what happened, I want to see if I can find all the pictures here. That is not, it happened all over in this area, but I was wondering, my house was built in 2005 in that range, and there's some new ones and a lot of really old houses. And I was wondering, that's kind of weird how there's this new section of housing in this old area. Well, I think it's because so many houses were burned down or destroyed in the riots that they were vacant. The area was just vacant for a long time, and eventually they kind of infilled some of these lots and built new houses. And that's where my house is. So I'm trying to see, is that my house too? That's my house too. I didn't see this picture. So my house is all over Wikipedia for this shootout. So this is where, let's read this. Standing at East 124th Street, where the police surveillance car was parked, looking down Auburndale Avenue towards Lakeview Road, Lieutenant Jones died on the north sidewalk about midway down the block. Patrolman Wolf's vehicle exploded and killed him about where the hedges on the left are. Okay, right there. Civilian James Chapman died in the middle of the street about halfway down the block. So I think what happened basically was they're doing a bunch of surveillance on some houses in the area, and there's a tow truck driver, and some people thought it was the undercover police, and one side claims another side shot first, the other side claims the other side shot first, but the tow truck driver was shot. Then the police started shooting, and everybody started shooting at everybody, and quite a few police were killed and other people. And the person who, let's see if we can find, oh, here we go. The shooting on Auburndale Avenue had ended. News media reported that 17 men and women were arrested at 12312 and 12314 Auburndale Avenue, but Evans was not among them. Evans is the one who kind of headed this group and went to prison for life. No dead or wounded were found in either house, and only 4 rifles. A 5th rifle was retrieved from a nearby automobile. Police initially charged 3 people, yada, yada, yada. But guess what my address is? It's one of those. So this is not the same house, but where my house is was one of the houses, the main house where this person lived who went to prison for 7 people dying in the riots and starting it. And yeah, just pretty crazy. And I have a picture of the house that was there originally. All right, so here's another site that has, yes, unfortunate people who passed away, wounded. Here is the building that was right there on the corner where the vacant lot is, Lakeview Liquor. I mean, it actually looks like my kind of property with a liquor store, apartments on top, a market right here. It's kind of like my liquor store and mini mart I own with apartments on top. But this place was destroyed, and then right next to it is the kind of the house or apartment where my house is right now. So there's a tow truck, I believe. It was just crazy, all the stuff that happened there. And there, yeah, there's the tavern, the police shooting up there. And my house was right in the center of it. And then, yeah, you can see the fires raging through the buildings. And I think they said 62 buildings were destroyed. So it was quite the devastating event for the area. So it was interesting to learn about that. And interesting to know that's where my property is. So if you want to read up more on that, just search for the Glenville Shootout in Cleveland, and there's lots more information on it. There were apartments all the way down this block here, all the way along here, kind of looking exactly like that. They're all gone. I don't know if they just were all destroyed in the riots, or just over time things were torn down or abandoned. But this whole street here was kind of commercial properties, and it just looks so different now than it looked before as far as the area. So anyway, back to the story on the courts. So I was finally able to get my IRA registered through this crazy process. I couldn't do it as a corporation. I submitted multiple things. They kept getting thrown back at me as not acceptable. The Cleveland Secretary of State was actually very helpful, though, in trying to get me to get this done. They just weren't sure how to do it either. And eventually I just registered my name with the state through the IRA, and we were able to go to court with that and show that I had registered in some way with the state of Ohio. And after that, let's see here, I've got all this wonderful, oh my crap, congratulations for registering. Here's what I received in the mail from the tenant last week or the week before. I'm basically saying that she would leave if I gave her $35,000 because that's what she needed because of all the trauma she'd been through with this situation, even though she hasn't paid rent in 3 years or so. So I did not agree to that. They went to court. I think she sued the property management company as well, or said she was going to. I don't know if she officially sued them to the same tune of $35,000. But they went to court. They had a continuance for another week, went to court again, and I was willing to offer her cash for keys. She accepted. We're paying not nearly that much. I'll talk about it when this is all done, I guess, and come back and revisit it, hopefully at the end of next month. But she's vacating, agreeing to take cash for keys. It's registered and noted in the court, so if it doesn't go through, we can do an immediate eviction without any questions asked. So this period of my life in Cleveland is coming closer to an end. Even though I've never been to Cleveland, I feel like I'm a little bit part of the city with all this that's happened right here. And I will sell this house once it's vacant and use HomeX to do it. So if anybody's looking for a piece of history in Cleveland that will be for sale soon, here you go. This property will be available, and you can put it on the historic register of places. You can see, lots of old places mixed in, lots of old, and then mine, just a few newer ones down here. You can see them right there. So it was always weird to me why that was, and now I know a little bit more about the history and what's going on. So thank you. I'm sorry, I forgot who commented and said that, but it was interesting to know that. And as many of you know who watch my videos, I am kind of a history buff and like the history and different things that go on. So crazy situation, interesting situation with the tenant and property management, and just shows a lot of things that can go wrong when you're investing out of state. I'm not saying you shouldn't invest out of state, but just be very careful. If I were to do things over again, I would do them much differently. I would find a good real estate agent, property manager to help me out first and kind of start there. Then find a property or find the right property to buy. I'd have a third party kind of confirm where it is and what it's like, what the area is like. And yes, that would be the main steps I would take. So, and at some point I may invest it out of state again. Who knows? That most of my stuff's almost all of it's in Colorado except for this property. But I definitely did not go about this the right way. And it was a cheap properties in my IRA, and I was just seeing how the turnkey process would work. In this situation, it did not work very well. All right, we'll have updates on this here in a month, and I'll see if I can get the property management company to do a video of the house as well to see what it looks like after the tenant moves out. That should be interesting. So it's a good time to subscribe if you haven't done that, because I'm interested to see what it looks like too. And we'll have videos of all my other properties as well and different things going on in my real estate world. Thanks for watching. Be back soon.